Hi there, I'm Bob Thompson, and I'd like to welcome you to a new series program, Simsbury TV, The World of College Cost Challenges. I'm on lend from Sage Financial here in Simsbury. I say on lend because this is really college funding strategies, and the predecessor company is Tuition Futures. Tuition Futures it goes back to late 70s, early 80s in Michigan, and I'll share a little bit of history with you in a minute. But I just did a crazy thing, finished taping on a revised philanthropic planner program, and I said to Karen here, you know, I want to do a program on college cost challenges, and I started looking through some of our old material, and I found a press release by the Valley Press, and I thought, well, now this is funny. This is going back to 2003. And I thought, well, how funny is this? I don't want to read a lot of this, but March of 2003, college financial program, this is in the Valley Post, Farmington Valley Post. College financial program to air on community television, and the title of the program was, "And You Thought Your Sneakers Were Expensive." I won't bore you with going through this, but here's an article 15 years ago, and I looked at that and said, things have not changed much. What's changed is the cost of college has almost tripled since then. I have in here, college costs rise every year, and many parents are overwhelmed by the thought of having to save so much money that they refuse to think about it, let alone talk about it, let alone act on it. Our goal is, in the program, is to let parents and grandparents talking about and get them talking about it and acting on it. So welcome. The World of College Cost Challenges. This is from a Galley proof on a book, and I'm going to ask you to join me on a journey through the chapters of this book. I'm going to ask you to start off on a station of subject, the rising cost of college cost, and two, what are the challenges, and understanding those challenges may lead us to get into solutions, better solutions, if you will, because I think that a lot of myths, I think a lot of rite of passage for young, what we call early stage parents, is mission impossible. This is not possible if I look at the current cost of education, let alone 16, 15, 18 years from now when our child or children start to school. So I wanted to share with you some of the chapters in the book, and I'll start with the preface in our Galley proof. Warning. This is just a friendly disclaimer. Now, this is in the book, but I'm going to present this here because this is a start of a series of programs about the same subject, college cost challenges. And I want this warning, this friendly disclaimer for the TV program, the same as the book. Please note, if you're seeking a shortcut, an easy solution, a FAFSA for dummies, a list of grants and scholarships, a magic wand, or a search for an unknown rich uncle, quick. Read no further the book. Turn back, run as fast as you can, return this book, and get a refund. This book will not help you. Now let's bring it to TV and taping. There's no $200 by pass and go, no financial aid. You need to just take your clicker, and if you're expecting a golden magical wand, click off the show and don't return. Just sit back and wait for many days and months and years of frustration, uncertainty, and anxiety, and find out later that you've no doubt spent more for college cost than the experience than what you had to. Okay? For discerning parents, the content herein is intended to assist parents having a more efficient college cost experience by providing a proven process, a step-by-step track to follow, a guideline, lessons as well as strategies formulated and organized by other parents. Let me stop there. Our effort to publish this book is a compilation of parents sharing with parents. The experience over the last 25, 30 years and collecting the experiences of these parents, we've arrived at some conclusions by observation to say what works, what doesn't work, and what can early stage parents today learn and take away from other people's experiences and apply it to theirs to make the load a little bit lighter. These parents, this book of parents' experiences, these parents willing to share what they learned by trial and error, and by the way, extremely happy to have that particular financial stage behind them. They are, however, highly motivated to share with younger parents some of the do's and don'ts, hopefully avoiding many common mistakes in preparing for future college costs of their children. So I preface that and say at our office, College Funding Strategies is coming out, I think in the coming week, 10 days, the 35th annual survey of college costs. Now, a week or two ago, this scared the heck out of me because I've been thinking about bringing this show back, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. We've done this for 35 years, sharing with not just parents, but other advisors, attorneys, accountants, financial planners. We give this out free. They can use it and share with parents and grandparents what the future cost may be, okay? Last year, this time last year, our 34th annual survey had 3 colleges and universities, 3 in the country, over $70,000 a year. Current cost, not future cost, $70,000 a year for 3 universities. This year, the 35th annual survey for the school year 2018-2019, there are 15 or 16 universities that publish their rate over $70,000. Now, that's staggering in my world, but what do we do about it? Well, let's come back to our journey. Let's come back to going through the process. And I will share with you a contribution by a couple, parents that had just finished their younger child graduating from college. And the comment made, I asked people, would you like to contribute a chapter or a paragraph or a couple paragraphs to the book? And it's amazing how many people say yes. And what would you contribute? Well, we have one gentleman down in the Essex, Westbrook area. He reminds me that it's a humbling experience. Another couple shared, we didn't know what we didn't know. And I thought that's very enlightening. We didn't know what we didn't know. And I'm asking, why? Well, one of the chapters or subchapters of our book is this is an unlevel playing field for early stage parents. Unlevel playing field. Why? There's so many contributing factors to maybe well-intended people, organizations, and so on, but are more damaging than what they really intended. Unlevel playing field. I don't know that there's anything out there for parents. I know there's nothing out there, parents sharing with parents what works and what doesn't work. But some of the things that we see is that some of the dangers that are confronting people out there. We talk about the players. Who are the players? Banks, insurance companies, wirehouses, investment houses. We get advice from our neighbors, our older siblings. We get damaging results from this incredible source available to us over the internet, well-intended, but I'm talking about a chapter that we have about the damages caused by college cost calculators. Calculators are you can get dozens of them. Okay, every mutual fund, every bank, every insurance company has calculators. Schools, universities, they have their own calculators. Put in the age of your child or children, what have you saved so far, and what's the anticipated date of your freshman year in college, your child's, and what assumption do you want to make on your the growth of your savings, and so on, and voila, the calculator comes out and gives a horrendous figure for this couple that just had a newly born second child, and they're faced with the challenges of cost of going from two incomes to one income, maybe temporarily, but the cost of diapers, just the change in the family dynamic. And this college calculator comes back and says, well, with two children, according to this, you need to save $4,150 a month. $4,150 a month. Now here's a couple who's struggling just heads above water, maybe $40, certainly not $400 yet, but here's a calculator that says you've got to save $4,150. Now, this puts this couple, frame of mind wise, out here to where maybe someday. So we had a lot of parents come back and say, we thought, maybe someday we'll start to save. But in the meantime now, we have daycare. We have daycare for one or two children. So there's an expense. So we've kind of gone from one series of expenses to another series of expenses. And then we get to, we've got lessons, we've got sports practices, we've got this, we've got this, we've got that. It's just a series of challenges that confront these young parents that never stops, never stops. Now, what we discovered from literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families, many of them contributing to our book, is that we found, and we devote more than one chapter to this, we found that parents fall into three categories, three groups, if you will, of parents. These are parents whose children went to college. So in retrospect, we look in the rearview mirror and ask these parents, where were you at a given time? What was your experience, good or bad or whatever? And these three categories are: people had no plan, they had an informal plan, and the third group had what we call a formalized plan. Now the middle group, informal plan, is probably 70, close to 70%. The no plan at all is 25%, let's say. I mean, their no plan by default is to have no plan. That's our plan, to have no plan. Then we've got about 4 or 5%, and this is something that has not changed over the last 20, 25, 30 years, that about 3 or 4% have formalized their planning to an extent of achieving two primary goals: minimize student-parent loans and enhance retirement income, and try to concentrate on both. So how do we do that? Well, these 4 or 5 percenters in formalizing their plan have really developed a system, a process, a guideline, a track to follow that we have said takes us from 2 dimensions of facing this issue to 7 dimensions. The 2 dimensions are, and this hasn't changed in decades, the advice out there today, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the advice out there today is save a lot and save early. So if you save early enough and you save a lot, you may get out here and have a hell of a lot of student loans. We have $1.5 trillion of student loan debt out there. $1.5 trillion of student loan debt. I read part of this article that goes back to one of our programs in March of 2003. The student loan debt at that time was $190 million, a fraction, I think 1/10 of that. So that would be 1.5 billion. We're at 1.5 trillion. Oh, by the way, some of these parents will share this with you. We read a lot today about $1.5 trillion. We have political proposals that say maybe we should have free college. We have a lot of things that are, wow, 1.5 trillion. We talk about bankruptcies because of student debt. We have young parents that are starting their own family and they're still paying their own student debt. I just read in the Wall Street Journal that, not the College Board, but the Labor Department or something, comes out and says the people over 60 have X% of bankruptcies due to their student loan debt. Over 60. We have a young lady that comes into our office. She's a physician, OBGYN. She has over $300,000 of student loan debt. Now, we're going to have some debt. But the problem is, in addition to the 1.5 trillion, we have parent debt that's not included. Home equity line debt. We have personal loan debt. We have debt from a 401k. Well, we took money out of the 401k so that we could pay juniors second semester and junior year in college. But that's a retirement vehicle that I took that loan from. So how do we overcome this world of college cost? First, we have to understand the challenges, and we have to recognize and admit that this is real. But if it's real, how do we attack it? And we're saying if parents understood 7 dimensions in overcoming the college cost challenges versus 2, save early, save a lot. So I'd like to share with you as we go on start this journey. This is going to be a series of programs devoted to this subject. And what we'd like to do is talk chapter by chapter by chapter to walk you through where we are in that situation. I talked about the unlevel playing field. We'll develop that a little bit more because I think if we're aware of the players and the system, society, the way it is, and I understand that this is a hurdle, an obstacle, I can overcome it. I can go around it, I can go around this way, I can go over it, I can go under it, or I can go through it. If I understand it, I'll do one of those, and I may even go through that obstacle, okay? But I come back to what that parent said, this couple, we didn't know what we didn't know. And I think that's a very enlightening comment. We will share with you as we go through this journey, and I'll say it's like one of these bullet trains that it doesn't go that fast. That's the design of the bullet train, but we're going to make some milk stops. And we're going to go station to station as we go through this process and say, hey, have you considered why some people are in no plan? We have bright, and I emphasize very bright, intelligent parents out there that are what I call Home Depot and Lowe's do-it-yourselfers. And it's easy to be a do-it-yourselfer today because I have, and if I had a computer screen here, through the internet and information and Google, and I can go in and research like crazy, like that college calculator, and not know how does this apply to me and how do we approach this. These things that are available out there are not personally focused on my family profile. It's cookie cutter to say, save early, save a lot. Okay? If we have a track, a guideline, a process that we share and say, here's what you do, and you're going to stick with this and be reminded of this and so on. We call that the parent tracks. The things that are out there that are available today are really related to what I call P&C. That's not property and casualty. That's panic and crisis. And that's when Missy or Junior comes home from high school, maybe in the middle of, well, let's say at the beginning of the junior year in high school. And oh my goodness, we're almost to the college time, and guidance counselors are starting to talk to the students, maybe going to school. And then I look at surveys like this, which I really don't like because it puts in that panic stage, like the calculator's doing more damage. But we look at that and say, gee, all the information out there is financial aid. Here is how you address and fill and complete the free FAFSA form. And all the literature, time, and expense that's devoted to qualifying for financial aid, we say junior and senior year. That's fine. That's fine. But how did this couple over here with a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old and maybe a 7 or 8-year-old, how do they benefit from that? No, they don't. They don't. We make X dollars, household income, and hopefully after this Mission Impossible with a calculator, we'll qualify, surely we'll qualify for financial aid. Won't we? Well, maybe not. Maybe not. And is financial aid today like it was back in the dark ages where you had grants and scholarships that weren't paid back? Where today, most of the financial aid, 80 or 90%, is in the form of loans. And did I really want to qualify for more financial aid so I don't have to save a lot? My neighbor's got a boat, and on Money Magazine, we have a cover of Money Magazine issue a number of years ago that said, whoa, why should I save for college when my neighbor qualified for financial aid, and he and she, they have a boat, and they're doing this and this, and we're struggling trying to save. So I get this in my mind that someday we'll qualify for financial aid. So we devote 2 chapters to kind of overcome that problem. We'll share with you the fact that product is not the answer. Yes, 529 plans, I think, are the best way to save for college, but not the only way to save. We have a lot of literature out there disseminated by 529 providers, the investment arm of the 529s. And we were exposed to that way back when, back in Michigan with tuition futures, and how this has evolved into the 529. It took us 19 years to get what we know as the 529 plans that are available in all 50 states, either periodic investing or a tuition future one pay kind of thing, or freeze the cost of tuition. So we've seen that, but the important thing is, what do we glean from that? How do we benefit from that information in the 529s? I've been to a couple boot camps, which are interesting, related to 529s. And in Boston, there are 48 people that came to this boot camp. Of the attendees, over 42 of them were of the mutual funds or the investment people, not planners, not people that were advising parents and so on, but of the providers, and they wanted to know, this is one of the primaries, how do we market more to grandparents? Because grandparents can gift $300,000, $350,000 into grandchild's 529. It wasn't to the young early stage parents, a couple over here, that can't save $20. And yet that's where the education process has to begin. We're talking about how to formulate habit. What makes the difference between the 4 and 5% formalized parents and the no plan or informal plan? It is one of having a track and developing new habits. Kind of frightening in some respects, but we want to walk you through that with some of these chapters. A couple of the other dangers, and we'll develop this later on, but we treat each child as an only child. So we devote chapter saying, I understand that's common sense, it's intuitive. Yes, we want to treat each child as an only child. This is a family problem. This is not a child by child problem. This is a family problem. We have to plan in a family plan. So we need to address those things. You know, going back to the financial aid, we have a process that we call financial aid probability analysis report, and we'll develop that. You need to do that today with your 2-year-old. Send your 2-year-old to college this fall and do a financial aid probability analysis report. And I've taken note, and I'm going to go over. See you next time. If you're interested in early stage parents, please tune in. We got a lot more coming for you. Thanks.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.